3.
In the time that it has taken you to wake up, get ready, and go to school, 8 people have committed suicide. Every 13.7 minutes, someone takes their own life. A lot of people think it's just, I guess, the older of age that suffer from depression and anxiety, suicidal behavior, those types of things. Did you know that suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for teenagers ages 10 to 24? And what about just us high schoolers? Look around you. 1 out of 6 teenagers have seriously considered suicide within the past year. Now, suicide, self-harm, depression, these are issues that many care not to notice because I guess a lot of people consider it a very sensitive issue to talk to someone about. But my goal today is to try and let you all understand and realize just how close and just how real the issue is to all your lives. Now, suicide is something that we all know the definition for, but not many of us know the definition of self-harm. Self-harm is the direct and intentional injuring of one's body tissue, most often without suicidal intentions. Different forms of self-harm range from cutting, burning, hair pulling, scratching even, starvation, and drug or alcohol abuse. What self-harm is considered a maladaptive behavior, meaning that it serves the same purpose as less damaging behaviors, but with more negative health consequences. Some people who feel stressed or trapped or sad go on a walk, maybe even exercise. Some people eat, others sleep, and others inflict pain on themselves. It serves the same purpose to get rid of those feelings, to try and make yourself feel better. It just has a lot more negative health consequences. It's the short-term solution to a much bigger problem for the emotionally damaged. Now, I can't possibly explain all of the reasons why people hurt themselves or decide that they want to commit suicide. But what I can do is try to explain the 3 biggest factors that influences that behavior. Now, the first would be depression. Depression can be best described as feeling sad, unhappy, empty, lonely, those kinds of things. Most of us experience those feelings in the short term, but true clinical depression is actually a mood disorder in which those feelings of sadness or emptiness, those feelings interfere with your everyday life for weeks or even months or longer years. The second and third would be hyperstress and disassociation. So to start with hyperstress, as you can tell, hyperstress is the feeling of being overwhelmed, feeling of being trapped, exposed, sensitive. And what that leads to is, after you feel like that, some people run into what's known as a trigger, or a trauma trigger, that is better known, or more technically called. It's something that calls back to a traumatic event in a person's past. And those things can happen in more common ways, like pictures or videos that just reawaken traumatic memories, or they can even happen in things like weather conditions or body positions. Those can be someone's trigger in which they feel the need to harm themselves. And then in the end, after that, it would feel more relieved, calm, or in control. The second one would be disassociation, which is feeling like numb, lost, alone, disconnected, which would lead to self-injury, and then feeling like you're able to function after. Now, usually disassociation follows the more melancholy type, the ones that keep to themselves, more quiet. But that's the hidden nature of self-harm, is that it can linger, self-harm and suicidal thoughts. It can linger in someone's brain, and you wouldn't even know if you're just walking next to them. It can hide, and it's hard to notice a lot of the time. Now, some of us know people who harm themselves or don't eat as much as they should, but some of us don't know those types of people. So picture this with me. What if your best friend has been hurting herself for a while now, and you've just found out? You just saw the scars on her arm. What if your best friend tried to commit suicide 2 months ago, and they never thought to come to you, never thought to tell you anything, and you just found out yourself? Would you be upset? Would you be angry? Would you be more sad? Would you feel betrayed that they never thought to come to you when they felt like taking their own life? I guess the reason most people don't want to talk about those things is because saying to someone that you've hurt yourself, or saying to someone that you've almost tried to suicide really leaves you in a vulnerable place. It really leaves you in an open spot where someone can maybe even look down upon you or think that your issues make you mentally ill or something like that. And many of those people build walls up in order to protect themselves from that because they don't want to be in that vulnerable place. Now, self-harm and suicidal thoughts and depressions, really tough struggles to face. Struggles that I have personally faced since early 2009. Self-harm itself, I'll say, is a really, really horrible addiction, and once you start, it's almost impossible to stop. In my case, it was cutting. Cutting myself got progressively worse as time went on. I started small, but it ended up driving me to want more and more, to go farther and farther, to hurt myself, and to go deeper and deeper, until eventually it brought myself to such an emotional imbalance and wreck in my life that no matter when someone just said the smallest thing to me that I could register as harmful to me or painful in any way, I would end up asking the teacher to go to use the restroom. I'd find myself crying on the bathroom floor, in these school bathrooms, holding my pocket knife in my hand, just taking the pain out of myself. Now, over these past few years, I've kept a count of how many times that I've hurt myself. Now, I know it sounds really cynical, but it was for personal reasons, but to give you some sort of perspective, last I remember, I've hurt myself over 83 separate times. And over those 83 separate times, no one knew. No one found out. No one bothered. No one put the effort to reach out to me while I was suffering in pain and struggling inside. But what I'm trying to really get at is that you should open your eyes and look around you. Victoria was a great example of how many people are really around us that we really don't care to notice, that are dying inside, that are really in that sort of pain. And it was just so difficult for me to try and go on without having people there around me. And no one knew for so long, until late sophomore year when the school administration found out, and so did my parents. And the office called me in, and they had to check my arms, and then they said that they would continue to call me in to check up on me, and they haven't called me back in the office ever since. So open your eyes. Those statistics that I mentioned earlier, they don't exaggerate. I'm proof. So question yourself. If you didn't know that I was suffering from so much self-hate and harboring such pain, what about all the people that you see walking in the hallway during break? What about all the people in this classroom, or even this school, that you don't know is suffering inside because they can't tell anyone? They don't feel like they're open or ready to. Now, because my friends reached out to me and helped me, I'm still alive today. My friends saved my life. And without them, I really wouldn't be here. And I've been self-harm free for 7 months now, and I think that I'm doing pretty well because of my friends. But what about those people who don't have the kind of friends that I do, who don't have the kind of support, the benefit of having just a group of friends who just care for you and love on you? I know how it feels because I went through that for a long time. I know what it feels like to balance your life on heads or tails of the coin. I know what it's like to take the gun from under your father's bed and press it against your head and just think whether today is the last day or not. I know how it feels, and I don't want other people to feel that way. I want other people to be able to have that kind of friendship and support. So what I want you to do is to try and reach out and help others. A cool organization that I've affiliated myself with is known as the Trevor Project. It is a leading national organization of crisis intervention and suicide prevention. They run a huge organization where they try and just get people the help they need with lifelines, with tips on how to look out and see these types of people, if they're in pain, things like that. The ways you can really help is just by joining this project and getting yourself affiliated with it, because something must be done in this school. Office said they'd keep checking up on me. They haven't done that. They haven't called me back once. So something needs to be done in this school. Now, I hated when people tried to come up to me, see the scars on my arm, and try and tell me that I was wrong and that I needed to correct myself. And I hated that. But I'm not telling you to go run around and try and tell people that they should just stop hurting themselves and just leave it at that. I'm telling you to look at the signs that this program gives you so that you can reach out to someone. The Trevor Project has something known as the Why Care. This is kind of like their driving force behind their organization. Each letter stands for a different thing. We start out with you. You say that you are never alone and you are not responsible for anyone who decides to take their own life. All that you can do is listen and be supportive. To move on to C, it's where you have to connect to the person. These are the steps I'm recommending that you do if you know anyone who's in pain with this. C, connect to the person, to the resources, and a trusted adult. You can give them like the lifeline that the website gives you if you feel like you can't help them as much as you really should be able to. Accept and listen to the person's feelings and take them seriously. I hang out with a different group of friends now than I did back in freshman year. I had a group of friends that really didn't care much for me, and when one of my friends noticed the scars on my arm, he came up to me after school and told me if I do that one more time, he's not going to be my friend anymore. And I thought to myself, how dare you? How dare you when I need a friend most at this time in my life? Accept and listen to the person's feelings and take them seriously. Respond if a person has a plan to attempt suicide. If someone is actually planning on committing suicide, you need to stop them. You need to get an adult and you need to have them safe. And lastly, empower. Empower the person to get help and call the Trevor Lifeline. It's the number that you see up there. Now, there are 3 different ways to volunteer for the Trevor Project. One, you can be a workshop facilitator where the Trevor Project will send you stuff, gives you the tools that you need to come to the school, maybe hold workshops, show people the signs that you need to look out for. You can be a person who actually runs the lifeline. You can call and you can actually answer the phone calls of the people who are in distress and emotional pain. You can talk to them and talk through it with them. And lastly, you can be an Ask Trevor author. Now, every single day, hundreds of people send in messages to the Ask Trevor website, and you can be an author to just respond to those and try and talk to people. Now, not all of these ways are time-consuming. At the very least, you can be an Ask Trevor author and respond to like a question a day. It may not seem like much, but you could save someone's life in that time. Now, I've tried to commit suicide twice. And the second time, a close friend of mine, her name is Abby, she stopped me. Because she took the time and effort to be in my life and to help me, she saved my life. And I want you to be an Abby to someone else, listen and care, and you can save someone's life. Thank you.